Thank you. That's what we're picking up in 37 here. And see what we talked. We were. I try to get off my soapbox here because I can have too much fun with this. But we were talking about drug addiction and stuff, and actually, this is talking about how it works in the brain. Quite interesting. Okay, and so the whole basis of the addiction is the body has this really interesting concept. Is that when you make something that you need, like a neurotransmitter, thank you, Jerry. Okay. And in the brain, when you quit making it, or you start taking something that replaces it, your body quits making it. And when you then no longer get your drugs, then your brain really starts aching for, like, I gotta have my fix. Okay. And so what we're talking about here, and this is, of course, if you look, I hope y'all had a chance. I think I did set it up yesterday afternoon, chapter 37. The first PowerPoint was very important to see this. So we were talking about how the nerves actually work. Okay, and what they do is they actually send, I'm trying to find a better picture of my axon back up just a little bit. There we go. But basically, our nervous system is made out of billions and millions of these motor neurons. That's what a motor neuron looks like. And the way we communicate, the body communicates with itself, is by sending electrical impulses down the cell membrane of these axons. So basically, if you remember how Morse code works, you know, in the movies or whatever, right? They have a copper wire and they shoot electricity down the copper wire, and it causes the key to click, 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 and then they spell letters out, right? And then Alexander Bell figured out a way to convert language into pulses of electricity, and that was the telephone, right? Okay, so this kind of goes like that. Now I know cell phone converts into microwave, so it's wireless, but our nervous system is hardwired. It is not wireless. And the wiring, though, is not copper wire. It is living cytoplasmic extensions called axons of the functional unit of the functional cell of the nervous system being this beautiful motor neuron. So dendrites receive these electrical impulses, and then if stimulated enough, they will cause electrical event that sends electricity all the way to the end of the axon. And this is the part that's kind of interesting. This is what we're talking about. At the end of an axon, the structure between the end of an axon and another dendrite or a cell body of a muscle or whatever is called the synapses. So this is the gap between the ends. Now, and once again, I'm not at all questioning God, but I'm thinking, wouldn't it be really cool at night if you and your husband or wife lay down, cut lights off, and you just kind of lit up like a Christmas tree? All these little synapses, little spark plugs firing, right? Little lightning. We don't do that. Okay. Instead of having an arcing of electricity, which would be one of the options, we actually release a chemical called a neurotransmitter in this gap. Okay, and so neurotransmitters are like hormones, except they don't go through the bloodstream; they only travel at the synapses. That's kind of what we're talking about right here, right here. And that neurotransmitter goes across and binds the receptor and triggers that action potential to continue. Now, some neurotransmitters like the endorphins, they stop the transmission. Now, y'all know that I told y'all that I'm going to go back to the gym sometime this semester. I still have. I drove by yesterday and waved. But sometime the next month, I'm going to go in and I'll probably start a 6 month to 18 month nonstop event. I think I went 400 something days about 7 years ago. Once you, they say in addiction classes, they say once you do something for 30 days, then it becomes what you got to do. So if you like don't eat bread for 30 days, guess what? You quit liking bread. Okay, you really do, which would be a good one for me to lose weight. Is that why the endorphins kick in? And this is what I never forget my wife, she never could get this sensation. But when I would get to the gym, when I was really into it, I would go for about 10 minutes and every bone, every joint is aching. I'm dying, it's just working. And at the 13th, 14th minute, these endorphins kick in, and I would hear the rocket thing in my mind. Then I'd go for an hour, and I feel no pain. Because these endorphins stop you from feeling, they call them runner's high. Y'all see people like when it's coming a storm or tornado, it's sleet, snow, they're out jogging every day, they're getting their fix. Might as well be snorting a line of cocaine. They're getting their addiction, but it's a legal addiction called endorphins. Okay? But that's like, and so the same thing happens to people when they get to critical man and other things, that they try to replace these neurotransmitters. But it is important to realize that some of these neurotransmitters are stimulatory, some are inhibitory. And that's what it's talking about there on that. We'll just look at a couple of the drugs. I mentioned some of those. I think we're going to move on down to talk about the CNS. Okay, we already talked about in the lecture, right? The CNS does three things. The central nervous system, brain, which is the brain spinal cord, it serves as receives stimulation of the body. All stimulation from the body goes to the spinal cord. Then it must decide what to do with it. It does an integrated function. It performs, makes a decision, or performs a function. And then it has to generate some motor output, and that's the nerve coming out, the 12 cranial nerve, 31 spinal nerve. And then we have an effect. And I was telling the class yesterday that the computer is man's attempt to mimic the nervous system of an animal. So you have your sensory input keyboard, you have the CPU and then the Apple, Microsoft software, and then you have a function like a projector or screen or a modem or me text you. So really we've come a long way. That's what basically computers are mimicking, this concept of sensory input, integration, and motor function. And that's pretty cool, okay, to me. All right, then it's just going to talk about that. Then we're just going to kind of flow through this real quick. So the meninges is the covering of the brain spinal cord. It's very cool. And if you ever had a cerebral spinal fluid, they go into that area, right? Go into through the meninges into this area between your vertebrae and pull some of the cerebral spinal fluid out. And they can look for meningitis there. This is also when they do an epidural. Now, I never done any legal drugs. I just never did, because that'd be like undercover, on TV if I did something stupid like that. I'd be the one to get called. I just never did anything stupid like that. But I was with my wife and we had an epidural. Let me tell you something. I didn't understand the power of drugs. I saw that epidural. They basically give that epidural to her. And so when we had to do an emergency C-section, they just used that epidural line to go ahead and give her some more drugs. So they basically, she's awake. And they put a quilt up, and I watched them cut my wife over to pull out my oldest daughter. And when she came out, I mean, you understand that 5 men had 5 nurses or whatever had their hands holding her organs. And when the doctor pulled the baby out, everything fell in, right? All this, you just took like a 10-pound alien and all this fluid out. Right when they pulled this baby out of my wife, she asked me, have they started yet? And I looked at her, I looked at they call the doctor, the anesthesiologist, and he goes, woman, you just had a baby and didn't even know it. I'm bad. Did a little jig in the room, in the surgery room. Like, I'm bad, you know, they don't know he killed himself. I kind of kept up with him. He had some issues, but he was really good. But he just said the power of drugs, right? She had no idea that they had 10 hands in her body, her abdomen, and an alien being cut out. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's pretty powerful. That means she could not feel anything below that epidural line. Pretty crazy to me, pretty wild. Okay, so spinal cord, we're going to talk about one of the things the spinal cord does also, besides being a conduit to carry things up and down. Okay, so basically it has a gray matter and white matter. And this is a picture of spinal cord. Please, I love it when they don't put a picture of spinal cord in here. Really, that sucks. I need to redo my pictures in here. But basically, the spinal cord has these reflexes and it's nerve tracks. So it has these cell bodies in there, these neurons that do our reflexes, and we'll get a picture of that in a minute. And so we'll come to that. I think there is a part of that when it's coming up. Okay, the cerebrum is the biggest part of the brain that does all higher function, all higher brain functions that occur with that. Here we go. So here's your cerebrum, and who you are, and all your personality is stored up in that. That is where you are. Okay, if there is a soul, it is in the cerebrum. I think there is. Okay, I'm just saying it's there. Okay, corpus callosum, this part right here, is the only nerves connecting left and right brain. Y'all heard about right brain and left brain, right? Well, this is where they connect. This is where they cross talk. Okay, that's pretty cool. Other structures kind of cool. Here's the pituitary gland. It makes 8 hormones controlled by the brain. Here's spinal cord coming up. Midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata that just do a lot of basic reflex stuff, and breathing is in there too. That's kind of cool. The cauliflower in the back here, cerebellum, is coordination. So if you're a wonderful athlete, I hate you by the way, okay, but if you're a great athlete, you got a good cerebellum, random luck, okay? If you can't walk and chew bubble gum, you got a bad cerebellum, okay? Now you can get better, but I don't think, I think I've pretty much eliminated from the NBA at birth, at conception, right? And bad genes, okay, I'm just saying. But some of you good athletes, you got to get some new genes, but you also have to put some work into it for that to work. But that cerebellum is very important for coordinating all muscle activity. Pineal gland makes melatonin that makes you sleepy at night. It's called third eye. It's kind of cool. And there's that meninges showing that covering. So that's the covering of the brain spinal cord. Okay. Now here's a really cool one here, just showing some different things. I actually wish that I had showed you another picture, but I just don't have time. But can you see there's this front lobe, and then there is this posterior lobe. Okay, can you see right here that this goes like, this is actually left, this is your right leg. The left side, this would be your left leg, left trunk, left arm, left hand, left face, left tongue, all the way down the side. So if I grab your tongue, you're gonna feel it right here, okay? But to move your tongue, you fire that frontal lobe right there, and that's where the origin of moving the tongue is. And then if you go down in the crack of that brain, okay, which you don't see it here, then it goes all the way down to the genitals and down in that groove. Okay, no doubt. They know where the part of the brain is where you feel any part of your skin being touched. And any conscious movement starts on that blue area. Isn't that crazy? So I've seen this video one time, and this girl has got on like a football helmet with like 100 pins in it, but they're not sticking in their brain, but they're shooting electricity in their brain, and they're targeting this part of her brain. And the guy's, look, I'm sorry, I'm a guy. And so if you make this dirty, it's just some of you, okay? Okay. So they're doing this, my kids in the room, they're like 9 or 10, and they hit this button, and this girl makes this moan like, that's awesome. And I'm like, all right, put it in the room, kids to bed, turn the volume on real loud, because this is science, but I gotta watch it. They hit it again, right? And she's like, oh man. I'm like, there you go, man. I'm gonna order one of those helmets. And then they like, what do you feel? And she goes, vanilla ice cream. Get y'all from out of the gutter. They had found her tongue part, and they found vanilla ice cream on her. Guys, I am just telling you, I had an epiphany. Can you imagine Weight Watchers? We all go hook up this helmet on, and we all go to Baskin Robbins and have the full banana split with whipped cream, double nuts. And we haven't had any calories, right? Then the guy in the back, they'll be in the back there watching, Bubba Does Debbie at Space Mountain or whatever. You know what I mean? But is that a sin? I don't know. Is that a sin? Is it a sin when you play a video game and kill 1,000 people? I don't think so. I'm just saying. Virtual reality. How many of y'all are computer game junkies? Come on, who's my players? I can almost get. And I love it. Girls are players, and that comes like when I was playing, it's like girls didn't play. It was like calm, like I wore out like 4 controllers. Okay. But virtual reality, right? Y'all want it to be real, right? I've here done those. You put the virtual reality helmets on. I've done that too. So the next thing is going to be you hook up your brain, right, and you experience the bullet go through your leg as you hit the Normandy beach. I'm just telling you, man, it's coming. Okay, it's coming. But I mean, but can you imagine tasting food, that you didn't eat, or other things that your mind wandered? Okay, I mean that's pretty crazy, right? And it's coming because they're going to map this thing out. But what scares me is that front part. I can also make you shoot somebody. Possibly. Okay. Because I know they can hit that and make your arm come up. Yeah, it could be a grenade, it could be a bomb or whatever. Okay. Could explain, those crazy fools at the Capitol that day. Maybe they're all being controlled by the media or something. Anyway, but isn't that crazy? I mean, that's just really cool. And then but that's where all sensation and all motor function, conscious movement begins. Pretty wild. I'll give you one guess back in the level, what I took looked up. Anybody been hit the back of the head? What happens? The vision, the TV goes upside down. So that's right, vision and hearing is a different level. Thank you. Pretty cool. All higher functions, that's cerebral cortex, these deep nuclei, these are deep neurons that we talked about. Those are associated with Parkinson's disease. At the beginning of the chapter, had a picture of Michael J. Fox on it. Hypothalamus, where I talked about that. Control center, considered the hypothalamus was actually talked about if you had psychology class. That's where the rod went through the guy in the psychology book. The guy that went crazy, became a lunatic, the rod went right through here. So hypothalamus is the seat of many things, including emotions and having, not going like a lunatic or whatever. And it's a huge area of homeostasis right there. And a lot of backup in this. So in other words, it does a lot more than that. The center maintains a lot of homeostasis, controls the pituitary gland, pineal gland, where I said melatonin, sleep-wake cycle, cerebellum, coordination muscle, and just kind of run through it kind of quickly. Here's a cool term. Reticular formation, reticular activating system is in the brain stem, and this is consciousness. So if you damage this part of your brain, you're in a coma. Okay? So it's right in the middle of that brain stem, and if you screw that up, it's bad. You're in a coma. There it is, the blue part here, whatever color it is, tan there. Okay, and limbic's one of my favorite ones. This is all the parts of the brain that have to do with emotion. So that's the hypothalamus, diencephalon, deep basal nuclei, all these things, hippocampus and amygdala. This is where fear is at. How many of y'all like horror movies? Let's have a little fun today. I do not like horror movies unless they're like crazy. Like I like alien stuff that that isn't real. But what I don't like is the guy that like abducts the neighbor and kills them, and he's not superpower. I like superpower stuff that's not real. Because I had a friend of mine that was abducted and killed when she was 18. I was like maybe 22 or 23. One of my very good friends, my sister, that's one of her best friends. Went out jogging one morning, the guy abducted her and killed her. And come to find out it was some guy that knew her acquaintance on her brother's softball team. He died last year in prison, by the way. Okay, he got a life in prison for that. But anyway, so I never could watch those slasher movies for like 20 years, 10 years. That's couldn't watch it. It really bothered me. But anyway, but that's because this is the part of your brain that does fear and the high, horror movie, the things you get excited about, stuff like that. That's your. There it is. There's a deep part of the brain. That's where all that's at. Just kind of a quick overlook at this real quick. There's that amygdala. There it is. And look right there, little part right here on each side of the brain. Memory. Okay, boy, this is a crazy one. We know long-term and short-term memory. Okay, how many of y'all remember your high school? You should know this. This is like last year for y'all. Now, how many remember your home phone number? Okay, my mother never disconnected it many years ago. Everybody had cell phone 662-869-5544. That's my childhood phone number. That is burned in my memory. No longer being used. Okay, they cut it off and had cell. But that was Guntown, Mississippi, my mother's house. Okay, that's long-term memory. So you actually long-term memory is synapses is building, and honest to goodness, and I'll tell you too, you'll do better in class if you can make something like really hard to learn, but have several connections to it. And that's what it's talking about down here. Like long-term memory store multiple factors to something that's easier to recall. And so I would tell a stupid story about something, and everybody get around on test. To have something just as important, I just give the fact, and not half the class get it. So I like rewrite my notes, color code your notes, stuff like that. That helps trigger these long-term memory. Okay. So we have short-term memory, like looking up a phone number, whatever. Long-term memory is what we want to reconnect synapses occurring, and then there's the memory of work memory. Okay, like for example, how to swing a bat, or play baseball, or swing a golf club, and ride a bicycle. Right? I haven't rode a bicycle in 25 years, but I think I can get on one and ride one. I'd probably kill myself. Right? Now, there is some really cool research about this. That if you want to be decent at a sport or playing a musical instrument or something, you want to start that before you're like 10 or 12 years old. Because it looks like the brain grows, and especially the cerebellum, and then you can be wired for baseball, basketball. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I watch too much sports. I've always been a big sports fan. But one of my favorite sports people of all time was Michael Jordan. So he's about my age, and I really followed him, and actually drove all the way to Atlanta one night. Took my little girl, because she was a little sports fan, and we drove, much of us drove to Atlanta and watched him play the Braves the year he won the championship that last year. He was playing for the Bulls. And we got all excited. It was the largest crowd ever to a basketball game. They were playing in the Georgia Dome, and they set the court up in the back on the end zone away from where I'm sitting. So I'm at the top of this Georgia, like about as big as the Superdome, and I couldn't even make out the numbers, y'all. And I had good vision back then, but I could tell that Michael Jordan had like a plastic rubber band around his leg. And I could make that out from half a mile. Okay, I mean I couldn't even make out his number. And so it gets down to the very end of the game, and they're down 2. And they throw it to Michael Jordan, and I'm telling you, 60,000 people stood up. He takes a super shot from the 3-point zone. I mean, he's going to nail it and misses the damn shot. And game over, we drive home. Because I mean, 61,000 want him to hit that, right? And so I've actually done a devo about that, okay? Now, why did I do that? I want to see the greatest basketball player my generation play, even though he missed the shot. But how many of y'all were not willing to take the damn shot in life? How many of y'all know the person who pass that off? You know what I'm saying? And one reason I like him that he has a lot of personal flaws. We know that, right? Yeah, I don't know if y'all saw that the thing during the pandemic was on ESPN where they did that. Man, he's crazy. He was bet on everything. He's very, very aggressive, very weird personality. But he practiced more than anybody. And he got cut in 9th grade high school and got the keys to the gym and started in 10th grade. He's motivated by Coach Cutting. Okay. So he practiced hard. Okay. So y'all can, but still, I'm impressed with people who do everything they can. Okay. As good as he is, he tried to play baseball. How did it work out for him? He didn't play baseball as a kid. He played basketball. And he could hit curveball. Okay. Another one I was very impressed with. How many of y'all seen this commercial? I'm also a big fan of Tiger Woods, even though he also had a lot of problems too. But if y'all seen the commercial, he would take the ball and knock it up with a sandwich and then hit it 150 yards on the drop. He feels the end of the golf club like you and I feel the end of your toothbrush this morning. I've never stuck it in my ear, never stuck it up my nose. You just know where it's at. He was holding golf clubs when he was 6 months old. I tried that and broke the window. I tried the little thing one time, I hit a house and broke something. You know, so anyway, but if you want your children to be good at sports, you start them early. If you want, I would love to play the guitar. I tried to get a guitar in 6th grade because I was ugly and I thought that would help me out, right? When girls make me play guitar, and my dad said go drive tractor ball. So I never got a guitar. I would like to get one, but I would never be able to play as good if I started young. So if that's important to you, start early. Moving on, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, we get shrinking of the brain. So we're looking at brain diseases here. Okay, other ones here, the 12 cranial nerves and 31 spinal nerves are the somatic nerves are those that you can consciously control. And then we talked about the autonomic nerves are those that you cannot consciously control. Okay, and so they are 2 sets of these that go out of the body, a sympathetic nerve and a parasympathetic. And we actually talked about this in another lecture. I'm not going to bore you with all that, but if you remember, sympathetic nerves cause the organs, all your organs that you need to stay alive in the next 30 seconds to fire up. Like heart rate, breathing rate, muscle, your attention, your weight, your wide awake. And then the parasympathetic cut those off and speed up housekeeping, digestion, all that kind of stuff. So you basically have these 2 sets of nerves always firing all your internal organs. And one of them is housekeeping, like break down food, do your job, and then we're about to die. Okay, cut all that off and let's put it all to running. Okay, and y'all go watch the video because I spent a little bit of time talking about that, but I forgot to tell them the example. So you may try this if you're over 18. Now, if you're under 18, I don't want no parents calling me tonight. Okay, so if you're over 18, this is a great thing. Nobody told me not to start. Ask somebody out on a date. When you get asked out on a date, guys, a girl, it's okay for y'all. I'm a father of 2 daughters. Ask a guy. Do not wait on some dude to call you. You may be an old maid 50. Okay, so call. Ask guy. Take you out to the movie by himself. Same thing, guys. You got a girl, ask her out. She says no. You know it's fake. You know then, right? But ask her out. Be brave. Take her to the movie. Go out to eat. Be nice. Be yourself. And then when you go home, or take them back to their apartment. Get a little chunky. Get the traditional kiss tonight. Y'all still do that? They may do that anymore because I think everybody dates everybody now. I don't know how y'all work. But anyway, kiss the guy or girl and then look at the eyes real quick. If the eyes dilate, the eagle has landed, she'll go he or she or they will go out with you again. Or it, we don't want anybody. If the eyes slow down, you might as well delete that number. He's never going to do anything. To see if your eyes dilate, you're excited. And that's a good thing if you're trying to date somebody, right? Have you ever watched them play poker on TV? Everybody's wearing shades. That's why the eyes can't lie. 4 aces, and everybody throws the cards in. So you can't lie on the eyes, okay? Eyes can't lie. Now, interesting thing there, right? Okay, but it's kind of cool. But that's a good example of the sympathetic nerves firing. Okay. Now, sphincter is a whole other thing. So people get scared in car wreck. They always urinate themselves, and the sphincters just go open and close. They don't know what to do. They're not sure what to do. Okay, with the eyes dilate. Okay, and that's why the cops just kind of line your eyes, right? If the eyes don't close down, you've been smoking crack tonight. Or you've been your own drug. That's why, and that's even evidence enough to make you get out, right? Anyway, there's the nerves coming off, and here's my spinal cord. Let me show you. This is kind of cool. All of this white matter are nerve tracks going up and down, carrying electrical impulses from your body all the way to the brain, or all the way from the brain all the way to the body. And then that butterfly structure, which looks like a butterfly, these are the cell bodies in this gray matter where we're going to see reflexes occur. Where these are nerves and reflexes. So I always thought this is kind of cool. Reflexes are automatic responses of the body without consciousness being involved. Okay? Now let's just do some, let's look at my little red folder there. Let's pretend that is a skillet in my house, right? And I'm going to go super slow mo. Your hand's already off the screen. So a nerve impulse goes up your hand to spinal cord, like, hey, let's get that off that hot skillet. Woo! It goes back down while the other nerves going up to your head. Now imagine we didn't have reflexes. Hands melting. We feel some heat down the right hand. Okay, all those in favor of taking a look. Look at the eyes having. Okay, the eyes having it's okay. Okay, you're gonna turn the head and look. Yep, we got power down there. Yep, yep. All those in favor of the left arm, right arm, maybe moving off the hot skillet. The eyes have it. Well, you just melted the hand. But that's how the brain really usually makes decisions, right? They have a vote. Okay. But can you imagine? I mean, so God said we can't have stuff like that. We need automatic responses without even making a decision. Put your hand off a hot skillet, right? And there's several of them. How many of y'all see that? I don't know. I used to love ERs years ago. Maybe I like the TV drama, the hospital dramas. You ever see them on one of them pull somebody's shoes off unconscious and like take a spoon and rub it on their foot? I thought, man, why are they still in those Nikes, right? And why are they still in those shoes? Okay, if you take a spoon, a blunt object, and rub the bottom of your toes up towards your toes, the toes will curl down. If they don't curl down, you have spinal cord damage. So they're actually checking spinal cord damage. And if they don't curl down, then they're like, oh, get the stabilize the neck and everything. And then the dude is like, wake up, boy. You're okay. But that's kind of cool. So there's several of those, including y'all see the knee reflex. Y'all had that done in the doctor, right? You know, you hit the tendon and it causes that. My doctor friend, there's like 100 they teach in medical school. So they can do it, okay? One of my favorite ones, well, we'll leave it alone. We don't have time for that. But anyway, but I think we should have a picture. Here's what happens. You hit the, this is actually a cool one here. When I'm pouring a glass from a beaker and I'm giving you a glass of Kool-Aid, right? As I fill up your cup, it gets heavier. And so the sensors detect that and cause the muscle to contract more so you just don't drop the cup. Okay. And then the other one is, oh yeah, I got to tell this one. I don't think they put this in here. There's one in the A&P book called the opposite. Anyway, it's a long story. Here's what it does. You get the sensation here. Like I put my hand on a nail. That should make that nail, my hand come up right on this side. It jumps the spinal cord. It makes the other arm go the other way. So basically, here's what we're now. Hot skillet. So we throw the other hand the other way. Same thing like with Charlie horse. You hit this and that arm goes down, this arm come up. I actually experienced this one time. I was about my second year teaching. I just bought my wife a brand new couch, and I bought a new computer, and we're sitting in our house watching TV, and I run fix a drink, and I run back in there, and I think I had a box of popcorn too, and I run in there to show. This is where you had DVRs, it was stop and everything. You had to actually get back in there and watch it. Shows only on one time in the history of Earth, Thursday night, 9 o'clock. You know. So I'm running in there, and I catch the faces of the door on my arm. And that arm, I threw the popcorn right in the forward. And I did not do that. I was just like, boom, like that knee on the knee reflex. And I took an 82-ounce Diet Coke and just threw it all over my wife. No children, worst cuss fight I've ever seen. I mean, literally, I almost got divorced over this. Like, what? And she had on like a white shirt. It was just a mess. And I had to go get the book out and like, okay, look, here's what happened. And I convinced her with A&P that I had hit my shoulder here. That arm went down, it jumped over, fired the other, called extension reflex. Yes, called extension reflex. And it makes the other arm go out the way. I got a plot for a movie. I mean, you're married, but I'm really going to kill you. I'm mad at you. So I get the big butcher knife and I put my left hand on the hot skillet, right? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Wait. No, cause extension reflex. Give Mr. Robinson, he's going to touch the bottom arm. Okay. So it can happen, right? We shouldn't do that way off camping, you know, like 8-12 hours from a hospital. We're trying to get rid of the same. You know. Bad idea. Okay, but anyway, and that's pretty cool. But reflexes are really cool. Okay, and she goes on about that. There's a sympathetic breath, and I really actually went over that in the video that y'all can watch. But look, speeds up heart rate, dilates bronchioli, you know, the breathing and all. Yeah, I always say this: if you're driving late night, just run off the road a little bit. You won't go to sleep now. Okay, because that fires the sympathetic nerves to get scared, you know. Okay, anyway, and then housekeeping is that. There we go. There it is, showing you how all the internal organs they go to. The left side is the sympathetic nerve, and the parasympathetic nerve is mainly this one vagus nerve. Well, just a couple of interesting. I've always wondered, and I have an answer now. But how are these paraplegics alive? And I don't know if you had, I had friends that have been in a car wreck and broke their spinal cord, and then they can't feel anything below, like, you know, their neck or whatever. How are they alive? Did they not break their spinal cord? Wouldn't that pretty much kill you? Here's the deal. Look where the sympathetic housekeeping nerve is. It's not from the spinal cord. It's a cranial nerve. So that vagus nerve doesn't get hurt with the spinal injury. It just kind of moves down there and goes to all the internal organs. So it can take a car wreck. And that's how they're able to stay alive. Pretty wild. Oh, and yeah, sometimes they can still have children. They just don't feel it, okay? Okay, but anyway, I'm just saying, there's a lot of things to go on there. All right, and that's it. That's about it. So we got a little bit ahead. Anyway, but now I have to finish that chapter. Okay, so we go to special senses real quick. Let's see if we left. I think I got everything explained on both of those. Now you'll have to look up the specific drugs out of your book. So those are in the books for like cocaine and heroin, marijuana. They're right in the book. So y'all make you dig those up a little bit. Let me go to 38. We'll go a little bit to 38. But I just kind of got caught in the spot there where I just couldn't quite finish that chapter yesterday. Okay, well, we can spend. I know we can have a little fun with special senses here. Special senses are really cool. And you might find out something you didn't know today, which is always kind of cool. All right, here we go. I wonder if I need to, I think I need to reshare that one off. Yeah. Let's see here. Do that. Where's that? Let's share screen. Let's go with a new one. There we go. Save a little bit of trouble. Okay, so this is just a whole chapter on special senses. And we'll just want to get to a little bit of the different types of receptors, and there's different chemicals we can sense, and the vision, and I think equilibrium is really cool. Okay, and we'll just kind of get down to them. So they basically are going there. These are the different types of receptors we have in our body. We have chemoreceptors that detect chemicals, and these include what? Smell, taste, and some of the in the blood that shape things in the blood. Photoreceptors are only found in vision, so they allow us to perceive vision, and they can detect different colors and different wavelengths. Mechanoreceptors are in all the joints and all movements, so that every joint, every muscle in your body, every joint has mechanoreceptors that tell the brain how that is, what position everything's in. We have thousands of those. Electromagnetic receptors respond to heat or light energy. Okay, I guess those are some heat receptors, and then thermoreceptors detect temperature. Right, that's pretty cool. We got those. And with the electromagnetic ones, that'd be some of these, like these other animals can detect. We don't do that very good. Non-human animals perceive the world in different ways. This is what the rat looks like, the infrared vision, right? Okay, some can produce very high frequencies that we cannot hear. For example, we'll talk about that in a minute. The nose of the dog, and it's way more sensitive than the human. Okay, so chemoreceptors are pretty universal all through the body. Let's get the taste buds. So our taste buds, they're found in these little pits along the sides and around the back here. And the primary smells are, here's where it goes up for smell. We'll get the numbers here. We go back, sorry. For taste, we have, come on, man, sweet, sour, bitter, and then there's one called inami, which is the raw fish or raw smell. It's Japanese name meaning delicious. Okay. So we got like 5 different things you can taste. There it is: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. Savory. Okay, I guess I call it sushi's taste. Okay, and then smell works the same way. Chemicals go up. You have to have atmosphere to have smell, and you have to have the chemicals have to be in solution in mucus. So if you are in outer space, you cannot smell because you need the air to rise. Okay. And if your nose is completely stopped up, you can't get the chemicals to the receptors, you know that. Or if you were to dry your nose completely out, both taste and smell, the chemical has to be in solution. Pretty cool. So anyway, the odors rise and they fire, and they go right into the olfactory nerves. They go right to the brain. Okay. And I have a coworker here in Northwest who works for the DeSoto County. She raises bloodhounds, and she is the tracker for DeSoto County. Really cool lady. And I told her I'm going to get her to come over here and do this one day, but she said she could do this. She said you can take one of y'all socks and let y'all run, give y'all like 10 minutes and go out on campus, and she can find you. She can follow the trail. You'll leave a chemical trail with your body as you walk out of here. Okay, it's crazy. So they smell like unbelievable. Dogs can really, really smell crazy levels. But nothing much there other than just kind of cool there. Photoreceptors, we already talked about the different types of eyes, the compound eyes of the insects, and this is what they see. So this is like a landing strip for them when they look at this little flower. Okay, it's like the nectar guiding them into the food. Okay, others have, of course, we have a stereoscopic. Others have panoramic. Like you think about the iguanas that have one on each eye. So they're seeing a lot bigger vision than us, right? Everything like that, they can't see the eyes on the side of their head. Pretty cool. Okay, now our eye, let's get a nice picture of an eye. Here we go. And so the outside white of the eye is called the sclera. Okay, and then the part that we put the contact lens on the very front is called the cornea. Then there's the pupil, the hole that the light goes through. The iris controls the pupil, okay, size, and then the lens behind it is held in place by suspensor ligaments connected to a muscle called the ciliary body that can contract and relax, and that's how we focus on close or far off things. Actually, a girl went down 20-some years ago, and she had a birth defect, and she cannot focus on anything. So she's at full, like looking at a mile down the road. So for her to bring it in, so she just called accommodation when you focus on something. And so she had football glasses about that thick that she would put on. I mean, literally would cause a fire for days outside on a sunshine day. Okay. And that brings everything like around here for her, like reading books and stuff. It would bring the focus point to here. But we all, most of us, I hope, can accommodate that pretty well and do that. And then the back of this posterior chamber is full of this jello called viscerous humor, and it holds the retina in place. And the retina is the layer, 10 layers of neurons that you can see a picture of. I probably don't have one coming up, but that is where the photoreceptors sit. There's a couple of structures here that's kind of cool. There's this blind spot right here where there is no nerve where the blood vessels leave. So you have no retina there. So you have two blind spots right out here at all times in your vision. Okay, and then right beside it is called focus centralis. And this is actually where you center your focus. So if you're looking at Robin right here, oh, oops. I love this thing. So if you're looking over here at Robin standing here, then the light hits Robin, and that's not, and you're focusing it right here. So you got your eye turned, so that's where you focus everything. Okay, it's called focus centralis. Okay, let's see if we have a picture of the retina here. That's just showing how it works. It flips everything upside down. Here is the rods and cones. Rods do low light and motion very well, and they were this night vision. That's why when we cut the lights off, everything turns black and white. Because rods kick in and cones don't work unless you have bright lights. And cones are the smaller ones, they're cone shaped, and they're way less common than the rods, and they do color and fine detail. And so that focus centralis is the center of cones. And that's why you've heard people have tunnel vision. So some people, you see whatever you're looking at, you see that detail, your peripheral vision is quite bad. You already know that. And that's kind of what's dangerous. So when you're driving, you're not supposed to be playing on the phone or anything stupid like that, right? You will miss something. Okay. And that could be something really important. Matter of fact, let's do one. I'm going to stop and say, I'm going to do a little trick with y'all. I'll put it up on the internet. Y'all give me a second. It's really blow your mind about how the brain works. And we'll come to that in just a second. Okay, moving on with these guys. Look, 150 million rods, 6 million cones, okay, and over 1 million ganglion cells connected together. Therefore, we have a picture of that retina. They usually put it in there. That's showing it too, but there's like 10 layers you can identify. Okay, there it is. That's one of the things. So here's a live microscope of the retina, and look at that. So here are the rods and cones, and there are 10 layers of neurons and nerves. And so the light goes through all of this, and it's these rods and cones right here that trigger vision. Now we have a black layer here called this coy coat right here. You can see it right here. Has anybody noticed? Well, y'all haven't done this, but if you dissect the cow eye now, they have a shiny iridescent layer here. And this is why their eyes reflect at night. When you go spotlight deer or tipping cows or looking for insects. So if you walk around at night with a flashlight, you'll see little eyes look back at you. They'll shine like they'll reflect back, and it'll be a wolf spider. Okay. We used to had a teacher that was into that. We would do for bonus points. We would have a spider hunt at night and go out to the Northwest Farm and do that. But you can see these 10 layers of retina. Very cool. Problems that can cause diabetes. It's really bad on vision. I have a friend of mine that's basically gone blind because he would not treat his diabetes here in Santobia. Mr. Donahue has macular degenerative where his blood vessels are not supplying the retina enough blood. And he's having issues with that. And he was, when I first met Mr. Dunning, he's retired this year. He was 66, and I am 56. He was in my class like 30 years ago, and we've been friends for 30 years. But when I met him, he said he would be blind in 2 years for this. So he was retired military, and he was coming back. They were paying for him to become a teacher. And they were able to now do laser surgery, and they stabilized his vision. It stayed about the same now, about 20 years. I wouldn't ride with him to hear this, but if we had to get here to Memphis, I'll get him to go with us because he gets there, okay? Because he knows how to take care of things if things go wrong or things go bad, you know? He was a special ops in the Army. But anyway, and then of course, how many of y'all have heard of retinal detachment? You in a back car wreck, I'm fine, no problem, you wake up and you can't see. So that retina folds over, breaks the retina, it folds over. Okay, that's bad news. We do have stereo image here, and the image is flipped upside down. Right, pretty cool. All right, let's see another one here, glaucoma, for you get pressure buildup. Have you ever been to the eye doctor and they check the pressure on your eye? That's because if the liquids are not draining properly, that can squeeze the retina, and that can cause damage. Cataracts are a cloudy lens, right? And that can be, yeah. So that's a lot of people, over 50% of people over 65, 70 have had this in place. Let's put a new lens in, so your lenses get clouded, everything gets fuzzy. And astigmatism is an uneven curvature of the cornea or the lens. Okay. And I don't put that here. And then how do glasses work? Let's see, there's astigmatism, look at that. So if you have a squatty eye, your focus is here instead on the retina. So you need a concave lens to put the focus point where it needs to be, right there. And if you have that's a long, if you have a short eye, then you're focusing back here, in the back here, and over here. So then you need the convex lenses to bring the focus back to here. Probably, about half people wear glasses, right? Could you imagine wearing glasses? A lot of people couldn't even do a job, right? I mean, they couldn't tie the shoes. I mean, they could not see, right? So glasses are one of the great inventions of all time. And of course, contact lenses if you're so vain, right? All right, let me stop here. I'm going to show you this. Everybody just kind of look at your phone for a minute, because I want you to see what I'm going to on the internet, because the Google search will tell you what I'm going to do. But let me show you something that really blew my mind. I saw this at a seminar one time, and it absolutely freaked out. I'll just put it on here. It can be on the recorder. It should make it pretty cool, kind of cool. If I can get this to get out of the way. Need that pulled out. Here we go. So just give me a second. Don't move. It's a YouTube video. Nothing too bad. Okay, hang on.
Is an awareness test.
Okay, everybody look at this.
How many passes does the team in white?
Count the number of passes the white team makes. Hold on. Let me get this out of the way. Hang on. There we go. All right. Well, 1 did it freeze? I love it. What did I do? Did I accidentally turn it on? Okay, let's try that again.
It's not paused, we just click it once.
What now?
It's paused, we click it once in a flash.
The team in white, Mac.
Pretty bad video. Pretty bad. It didn't work. Check it out. Count that white team pass. Count that white team pass. How many y'all get? Oh, then stop.
The answer is 13.
Anybody get 13? Okay, now what's it?
But did you see the moonwalking bear?
What? I didn't believe it.
No.
Okay, this is a commercial that aired in Europe about 15 years ago, because people kept running over bicycle drivers in Europe really bad. Okay, and that kind of blew my mind when I saw that one time at a thing here. And if I can get this to cut off now, let's cancel. Let's cut all that off. All right. So anyway, let's just stop sharing that. Okay. So here's the deal, and this is kind of a good one in the intellectual. This professor was studying how we get distracted, okay? And the professor actually did this in a room for 100 people. He went out and got like a camera put on a bridge. Let's just say I-55 bridge in Santovia, and he let it run for 10 minutes. And he was going to tell them to count the number of semi-trailer trucks going south. And he basically walked in real mad one day with the group, said, okay, here's the deal. If you get this right, you make an A in the course. If you miss it by more than 3, you fail. You know, if you miss it by 2, you get a C, but 1, you get a B. And he was dead serious, you know, joking, but he bought it. What he did is he'd come out early that day and filmed this, and he put on a gorilla suit and came down in the middle of the median, pulled off and ran up and down the median in a gorilla suit. In the process, he didn't tell the highway patrol that. They pulled over and arrested him. Okay, he plays that in the class, 1/3 of the class never saw him get arrested. Because they were worried about their damn grade, right? Got them to not grade right. And so what he discovered is our brain, you know how we don't hear mothers say in the room anymore? How we just throw that out, right? Because the mother ain't gonna do nothing, but if mother popped you up down the head with the skillet, you should remember, right? And so the brain does, the vision does the same thing. And so I'm telling you, the research are showing with this is they will probably have a transducer in your car in 10 years that kills the engine if you have a cell phone on in the car. Because he's doing it now, where he made like a video game, when you drive through the plasma screen all around, he's filmed this like 10-minute drive through Saratoga. And so he gets a student to do it, and they'll say, okay, now do it again, and call your best friend and talk about a voice for that 10 minutes. Like talk about something you're interested, like boys, 2 girls talking about boys, or you talking about, video games, okay, I'm just saying, have a conversation with your best friend. Well, what you're gonna do this weekend? And along the way, he had like a woman get abducted on the side of the road, get thrown in the trunk, they don't see it. He has a spaceship land on the side of the road, look like green aliens get out, nobody see it. You're not expecting to see somebody get abducted on the side of the road. He actually filmed that, gave a girl that threw in the trunk. Like 12% of people see that. Because you're not expecting to see an alien land. I'm just telling you, there is a whole new world going on like this. That blew my mind when I saw that, right? I didn't see it. I had to go take it and see. I had to back it up myself. I didn't believe it. Okay. But that's been out of mind. They've done some other ones where they could even change it. Your brain is filling out things that nothing can do that. For vision. To the point where I think we will probably, I don't drive, I don't play with my phone with drive. You shouldn't argue with your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife on drive. Because you really are distracting ourselves quite a bit. How many of y'all got that friend? My brother had to play the radio the whole time. I'm like, dude, we got this truck. Watch the truck. Don't worry about the radio. Truck. Okay, whatever. All right, y'all have a good one. We'll get out of here. I thought this pretty